Greetings and welcome to SmartWatchTix.com. We've got it all related to smartwatches, and today you're here because you're interested in running ChatGPT, the AI assistant, on your smartwatch. Well, first of all, let me tell you, you got to have an Android smartwatch in order for this to work. Right now, you've got some of those Bluetooth connected watches, and you can talk to Google through them, or you can talk to Siri through them, but you need to be able to talk directly to ChatGPT through their new host, and I'm going to show you how to set that up right now. You pick whichever one you want, a round one, a square one, a rectangular one. There are lots of them out there. These are two of the best, and at the end of this video, I'm going to have a little comparison video added on here that we already produced to show you how to get yourself set up on one of these specialized large format watches. In the meantime, what we can do is come over to your apps. This is just like an Android phone, guys. You can hit the Play Store. Of course, now this assumes you've already set your watch up on the internet, you've activated your Google account, and you have a Play Store access for yourself. You come in here, you put in Bing or Bing browser, and that is going to take you now over from Android to Microsoft integrated with ChatGPT into your smartwatch. You wait for it to load up after you've installed it, and then you'll be presented with this page or something that's going to look similar to it. We can set it up to be the default browser if you want to, maybe later. But when you're in here, now this is around Valentine's Day 2023. Happy Valentine's, by the way. Scroll on down. You're going to say you can join the Bing AI-powered Copilot by joining the waiting list. By the time you watch this, you'll already have it integrated. So just download Bing and hit your ground running. In the meantime, if you aren't yet registered, you want to set up a Microsoft account. Remember, we had to be on a Google account to get to the Play Store or an Apple account to get to the Apple Store to be able to get to Bing to download it to your device so that now we can set up a Microsoft account, log in under that. When you've done that and you go through the process, you can put yourself on that waiting list to be one of the first people to use ChatGPT on your phone, on your computer, on your microwave, in bed, or, folks, on your amazing Android smartwatch. That's how you do it. I know you can also do it through a web browser at this point in time, but by the time you're watching this, like I say, Bing will be the best way for the ChatGPT. Bart, you got to go through Google for that one. We'll look at that later when it's available. In the meantime, here's that video I promised comparing the square to rectangular and the round large format Android smartwatches. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon. A lot of you guys are very interested in these oversized watches, and so we're going to take some time and have a little play today. We've got the new Max. I want to call it a Limfo. Limfo makes similar size ones, not this one yet, but this is Ticris. Both of these are the Ticris Max and Max Small. They could have called it a Ticris Mini, a Mini and a Max. That would have made sense, but you want it to be Max, but smaller Max than a Max Max. Prime 2, a bigger version and completely different design than the original Kospet Prime, is here in the middle. So you got rectangular and round. And what we're looking at, this is a custom watch face, an animated watch face. The possibility to put animated faces and touch screen sensitive faces, with complications or whatever you call them, where you touch a button and it launches an app. That exists now on these Android smartwatches, so they're really cool. This particular face comes to us from designer Alrod, and he's made a bunch of them. So I want to show you a few of his. First of all, this same face made square for the older Android Square watches. He's expanded and extended, and made it wide. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a girl surfer and that's a boy surfer. I don't know. I can do the same thing on this one, though. Usually the first touch unlocks it, the second touch activates it. If you think it's sluggish, it's because Uncle Tix hasn't quite learned how to do this Right, yeah. There we go. Now, that's the way I like to show them. Full width, full height. You can see the actual borders now. This is edge to edge, right up to the bezel. Here you got a bit of a black border on the side, and it carries over here as well. But if you want to just hold it on the side, you can and not get your fingers on the screen. You got a little button you see over here. This is a sliding button that can be moved around, and there's one right there too. This is for an app called Floating Toucher. We've talked a lot about that on various videos, and it brings up something like this, and you can go all over and do all kinds of amazing things with it. This is a different one, Smart Touch, I believe is what it's called. And the reason this one is on here, if I can get it to activate, there you go. And it gives you a little curve thing that you could put different programs and actions on. This one is on here now because Floating Toucher does not work on this watch. And that's because this is Android 10. These are Android 7. But enough talking, let's play. First of all, let's get a weight on these guys. The lightest one probably is the Max S. In grams, it's coming in at 118. The next one, what do you think is going to be heavier? Well, let's go to the Max itself. 118, 154, and the big round Prime 2, this is with their bands on it, 113. Now, this has a different band. This comes from Strapsco, and they've got some great alternative bands to these watches. Definitely check the show notes for a link if you want to get a custom watch band for your Android watch, as long as the bands are removable, which these are on the Prime 2 at 113 grams. The bigger, heavier 154 gram Ticris Max, the bands are not removable. In fact, they are beefy, big things, rubberized, massive, and they're held in with screws here that have special tools needed to take them out. And when you do, and we have a disassembly video on this watch, or a version of it, the Limfo identical watch to the Max, you'll see you can actually take the bands off. They don't have antennas in them, but they are so custom designed that there's no way you can put a replacement band on here at all. Pretty much the same story is here on the Max S. This is a little bit more flexible, but you see they go in here and they're held on with screws up at the top like that. Am I in focus? There you go. And same story, you're not going to be able to take them off and use this watch with other bands. However, if you're interested in making a pocket watch out of it, I presume you could take these off, and notice it doesn't come down to the bottom here, so you could probably lay this flat down, put it in your pocket or put it on your desk or whatever, and do it bandless. I'm not ready to do that yet because I don't know if I really will destroy it or not, and I love this watch. This one, of all of these, fits the niche for me. And now it's time to show them on. I'm just going to wrap it around to give you the feel. This is a good size for my wrist, my arm, my hand. Weight-wise, it's okay. I really like the overall layout of it. The buttons are on the left-hand side, which actually makes it pretty easy for me considering the front-facing camera is here. Now compare that to the full-on Max. This thing is much, much bigger. And the buttons, they're not on this side, they're over here, and the camera is right here. So you do get a little bit of, well, you got to be careful when you're using them if you're going to be front-face cameraing from this particular watch. But all in all, I don't know, look, it doesn't look that big once you get used to it, but when you compare it side by side with this one, now this looks small, doesn't it? Optical illusion. But let's talk round. When you do the round thing, you get a whole different experience, obviously. And some folks feel that the round, just by its nature, looks bigger. What do you think? I think so too. I actually like the rectangular ones laying parallel to my arm. They just kind of blend in more. This is a really big watch. and it's a great watch. It does a lot of really cool stuff, but it definitely has some size to it. Speaking of size, one of the questions comes up is the width, and the width is kind of a governing factor about how fat it's going to feel on the arm. You already saw the weights, so let's check the width. So the round Prime 2 has an extra couple of millimeters or so here by the raised back that presses into your arm to make a nice seal. That's kind of a good thing. It also keeps the watch elevated a little bit. If you get any sweat, it stays around the outside. But it does add thickness. So what we're going to do is pop this open, come in here, and check the edges is right around 18 millimeters, 17.81 if I'm pressing hard. 8.7. If I open it a little further, though, and take the full width of it, 19. We're right at 19 millimeters for the Prime 2. Okay, how does that compare with the really big Max? This is flat all the way, except see it curves where it goes around your arm, but we're kind of concerned about the middle section. Oh, wow, extra room. Look at that. I'm going to press it down. 16.4. Little over 16, 16 and a quarter. Yeah, just a bit bigger than 16. And for the actual Max S, which is a thinner overall watch, look at that. Same thickness, exact same thickness. So this one has a smaller battery, about 2,000 milliamp hours. This one, oh, look, it switched back on me while we were doing all that. This one has a 2880, I believe, milliamp hour battery, but it's not hidden in the thickness. They made it wider and taller, apparently, inside of the device itself. So we're going to play with some custom watch faces here in a second between these two watches, but I want to show you a couple more of Alrod's. Here's a fun little bubbling beer, I guess. That is an animated looping thing. That's kind of fun. And then he's got some other ones in here. Let's see. I have to get past some of these others. This is a fun little walking one. Again, animated. And I don't think he's expanded this yet to the rectangle, which he could by just adding some extra on the edges. But it's in the square format. And well, let's take a look at the stock faces between these two otherwise identical ones. First of all, both watches are available with a black border or silver, and this is what they look like together on my fancy paint roller. Paint rollers are great for storing your watches, by the way. So we've seen this fancy, colorful one with the flowing design on it, and it's touchable. I don't know if you noticed that. This one not, the fire is right there, but the other one, if you roll your finger around on it, you can change the pattern, so it's touch sensitive. These are activated squares. We've talked about that before, where each of them are active, and they look like exactly the same layout, which is alluding to the fact that the firmware has got to be very, very similar, if not identical. It's pretty much the same things. They're just bigger. So since they are, I'm just going to go through them in thumbnail size so you can see there's no difference yet in the faces. They're all identical. This is very colorful with a lot of changing hues, so you can get a real feel of the brilliance of the screen and its edge-on visibility as well. I like that colorful rose for demonstrating that. Then you get into this one, another colorful one with analog hands, a digital watch. Now we're seeing something different here. Check this out. We've got a different additional face on here, it looks like, that's got selectable squares. Yeah. So the Max S has a few additions. Maybe there'll be a firmware update eventually to the original Max that will add all of these as well, because all of the functions that are touchable are part of the stock apps in here, and they should definitely be usable. Okay, Then we get into this jellyfish thing, and I'm over here into a whole different type of a watch face, which is a custom face. And it's jumping a little bit because there's two different designs depending on the watch engine that's being used. So this is not a stock face, and so you're not going to find it on this one. But this has a few extra faces on it right up to here. So the very last one on this watch was this one, and the last one on this one is here. So there's a few differences, a few more additions to touch face screens on the Max S than we find on the original Max. So that's probably enough for today, just to give you a feel for the weight, the thickness, the size, what they look like on. Tell you a couple of more things quickly just to be aware of, and that's about the cameras. Obviously, the Prime 2, if you've been studying this, has got the humongo amazing camera. Without getting too technical, it's rated at 13 megapixels. It's currently shooting 8 megapixel pictures, but there's a firmware upgrade coming that will raise it to 13 full megapixels for pictures. Video, you can go up to full high definition, 1080 by 1920. Is that I think that's it. And maybe 4G, I don't think so. Anyway, I got a video coming up where we're going to do video as a stress test for the Android 10 watches, so check that out. But without going too deep, let me just say that the best camera is on the Prime 2. Let's call that one high resolution. Medium resolution is on the Ticris Max. It's a front-facing camera, but it's only front-facing. There's no other ones. Let's call it about 8 megapixels-ish, but just medium. You know, you're going to get pretty decent video, probably the same 1080p resolution video that you're kind of used to, and good pictures out of it as well, but not great, you know, okay? And then this one is supposed to be the same camera on the front, 8 megapixel looking at you, with a 2 megapixel camera on the side. Well, that wouldn't make sense. It's supposed to be the 2 megapixel low resolution for your face and a higher resolution on the side, but you know what? It's not. They got it backwards. Yeah, this is the same camera as this, and it's the medium resolution. This is low resolution. It shoots like 1200 by 1600 pixel pictures. Not that big. And the video, this is where it's weird. The video is the same 1080p kind of video that you can shoot with these. The thing is, it's all fuzzy. Very weird. Hopefully, we'll do a more detailed look at the camera aspect of all of these. But if you're buying a watch for a camera, don't wait a few years. You know, it's not there yet. Everybody buys a phone based on the camera. Does it do as good as an SLR? The watches aren't there yet. They're a few years behind. So it's a nice addition to have. What you could be concerned with is, are you going to get a decent enough picture from the front to do your video chatting and duo calls or whatever you're using for video calling? And yes, all three of these, you'll get that. This one, of course, is one camera, but you flip it up and it's pointed towards you, and you can get that kind of a use out of it as well. And the last thing is battery life. I know you guys always want to know. I want to know too, but it's a really hard thing under different loads. They're big batteries in all three of them, so you're going to get fairly decent battery life, but these are not watches that give you 30 days with a 1-hour recharge. They're not that style. So look in the show notes under each of the reviews for the Cosbet Prime 2, okay, the actual full review, the Ticris Max, and the Ticris Max S, and I'll try to post updates to battery testing under different loads that I'm running these with when I'm wearing them. It's just too big of a job to try to do a full-on scientific study of all of that. And any of you that have these watches and you've done some battery life testing, please leave your results in the show notes, in the comments, okay? In the comments. Check the show notes for my evaluation and the comments for what other people have to say about how long these watches will last under different loads. But there you have it. These are the trailblazing largest sized rectangular watches with a beautiful custom Casio face showing on here right now. And this one is the Prime 2, which is the biggest round Android watch on the market, also with the new processor, also with more memory, 64 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes on these, also with more RAM, 4 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes on these, and of course more expensive too, with custom bands on here available from Straps Co., which I got a link for you to pick up any of these that you'd like to buy or straps that you'd like to add. Non-removable straps, not waterproof, any of them. No Bluetooth calling with any of them. You can do texting. You got to put some third-party apps on here like WatchDroid if you want to do texting from the text messages coming in from your phone, tethered, and reply to them. It is possible, but it's a stretch. The best thing to do is take off the cover in the back and put in its own independent SIM card, GSM network like AT&T or T-Mobile, and then it'll run on its own SIM and be a full-fledged replacement smartwatch phone for you. You have been watching Smartwatch Ticks.